their virus thing, and so they'll come up with some kind of bullshit, and then they'll say, "Oh, well, with $29 more, we can clear this up." And it's like, get out of here. Yeah, I was going to have Marques send you the videos because I have a hard time sending videos on this computer. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's Skype was awesome, and Microsoft screwed everybody by buying Skype. So we got screwed out of our free meeting software, and now Microsoft wants us to pay for it. And Zoom holds you hostage and gives you only 30 minutes. Now, if I can get Google Meet to work, that'll give us 60 minutes. Like right now, it looks great, but the button to actually record is grayed out on me. So I got to figure out why, because there's a bunch of troubleshooting steps, and I can't figure out what it is, because I'm logged in, I have space, it just for some reason won't let me do it.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No worries, Phil. The way I look at it, you make it happen, so.
Yeah, Phil, Phil, can you ride horses, man?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I grew up on horses.
Oh, wow, okay. What's your, who's, in Kentucky Derby, who's your favorite horse out of all the fastest ones?
The year I was born, my parent, Secretariat won.
Secretariat, okay.
So that's the one my father always talks about every year. He tells a story about, Secretariat winning the year I was born. So. And that's the one still to this day that won by, I think, more lengths than any other horse in the whole history of the race. But it's rare that any horse can win, the three races, the Triple Crown. So it's, but yeah, they were, my parents in the 70s were really big into it. They were really into Arabians for some reason. I don't know why they got into Arabians, but they had Arabians, and my uncle had trotters. So every time we went to my uncle's, he always had like the trotting horses that we always went to the races, and every time his horses went to the winner's circle and got the picture taken. So it was those horses were fun. I still remember his horse's name, Josu Star and Big Red and Quick Charlie were some of my favorites, and then the Arabians always had weird, Pasha, these Middle Eastern names type things. But they were spirited horses, just to put it mildly. So they were, they were a handful. But my favorite horse to ride that I ever got to ride was a Tennessee Walker. When I was in the Marine Corps, a local place that was outside of Camp Lejeune did trail rides, and my friends were like, "Hey, let's go ride." So I was like, "Oh yeah, sure." And I got in there, and they're like, "Okay, anybody know how to ride?" And everybody talked a good game before they got there, but as soon as they got there, everybody shut their mouths. And I'm like, all right, I can ride. So they put me on this one horse called Thunder or whatever, in this really tall, like 17 hands high black horse, gorgeous. And so I'm like, okay, awesome, right? So I get on, I go to back the horse up because they're all kind of leaning around the corral and in the barn. So I go to back him up a little bit, just kind of handle the rein like this kind of movement and squeeze in a little bit. And as soon as I did that, he rears up on hind legs like Hi-Ho Silver. But I didn't panic, because I grew up with him, so I didn't panic. So I just kind of leaned into him a little bit, and he went back down, just awesome. And so then they come out there and they're like, "Oh, we forgot to tell you, he's trained to do that. He's the local mascot for the high school. They're called the Mustangs." But I loved it. I was like, oh, from that point on, every weekend I was down at that place, and they gave me a deal. Even when nobody was around, I'm like, oh yeah, for like $20, I could take him out on my own by myself. And so every time I left the barn, I was like, do that little maneuver, Hi-Ho Silver.
Oh yeah, I got quite a few videos of the horses rearing up on me. I got a TikTok page. If anybody wants to follow me, follow.
Recording in progress.
If anybody wants to follow me, you can follow at Cowboy Marques on TikTok. I got quite a few videos of my horse rearing up on me, and the first time it happened, I was kind of shocked and surprised because we were just standing there, and a horse got that fast twitch muscle as I was speaking about before. So all of a sudden, he just whoop, we're in the air, and I'm just like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. I didn't expect that. And the only thing, the reason why I did that is because I had his curb chain under his chin too tight, which is the brakes for the horse. I had it a little too tight. So when I pulled back, to have him try to back up, and he just goes on the rear hinds. I was like, oh man, that's kind of crazy. But I love adrenaline, so that's one thing that made me kind of want to keep doing it.
It's so much fun especially if he's predictable and then the horse is good with it. Yeah. It's like a jumper. If you have a jumper that is predictable and likes it, it's like that's all you want to do after that.
Oh yeah. Off top.
Hey, you guys, I have to apologize. Okay, and the reason why I have to apologize is because that Bass Reeves was the inspiration for the Lone Ranger.
Hi-Ho Silver.
That's right. He was the inspiration and it was Joaquin Murrieta who was the inspiration for Zorro, and Zorro was the inspiration for Batman. So I apologize and everything else. So, hey, I wanted to ask you, Marques, if I could put you in a time machine and take you back into the old West, would you like being an outlaw or a lawman?
I would like being a lawman. I stand up for what's right, which is the reason why I joined the military. There's a whole bunch of forces in the world that stand for evil, and I'll do everything I can to make sure that those bad boys are taken right out of that act of corruption. It doesn't matter if you're a kid, doesn't matter if you're a grown up. If you're a kid, I'll grab you by that hand and spank that. If you're a grown man, sometimes it takes a pistol or a jail cell to get you in the right mind frame. And what I see today is that a lot of the youth don't really have that upbringing that they used to have in the West, which is a hard one because everybody's been spoon-fed with all this sensitivity where they don't know how to handle their pain. All these different things that are out here in the world don't allow you to be a grown-up. They allow you to be a child continuously in your life and your development that you need to be able to deal with your pain and be able to deal with the world around you is just kind of absent. So I think that if I was back in the 1800s, back in those days, I would most definitely be a lawman to keep the corruption away and also keep the cycle of living going and keeping the people that aren't supposed to be away. That's what I would most definitely be. Outlaws, they only last so long, but the good hearts, even though they might die early, they always last in here, and they always last in here. The stories live forever. It's the legacy you pass on by being a lawman. But outlaws, a lot of times they don't have children because they die too early to even meet a woman because they're always on the run. But for me, as you see my beautiful family I got behind me, I want them to have a legacy to live forward to. So I say I would live to be most definitely a lawman back then if I had a time machine. Most definitely.
Sounds good, Marques. And also, too, like, the Old West is very fascinating. I love the history and everything else. I've been to Tombstone, Arizona, and I saw the OK Corral and all that. And and the things didn't, the shootout wasn't even at the OK Corral. It was like in a back alley. But I went to Billy the Kid's grave in New Mexico.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's a very right here in Sacramento. We had Black Bart. And Black Bart was doing his thing up in Sonora and everything else, and Black Bart really confused me because he went to so many places from San Francisco to Sacramento to Sonora, and he didn't like riding horses. How do you walk that far? I don't understand.
Well, the thing is, he might not like walking, might not like riding horses, but, they got covered wagons and different trail animals that you can ride on. But, for me, I think that he did the same thing Lois and Clark did. Sacagawea wasn't really on a horse. She was on barefoot carrying a baby on her back through the Lois and Clark trail through Montana, Colorado, all those places with just some basic moccasins and some skins on. She didn't really have a whole bunch of extra jackets, like people have these days. They don't really acclimatize themselves to the weather. But Sacagawea is the true inspiration and, the definition of Mother Nature. She connected with the land. She connected with the people. She connected with the environment, was able to take on all the adverse conditions of the world, with a baby on her back.
And you mentioned Lewis and Clark. In Franklin, California, you have a Lewis and Clark person buried there at the Franklin Cemetery.
That's crazy. When I was actually